So I just watched the live action adaptation of Lilo and Stitch, directed by Dean Fleischer Camp and written by Chris Kekanayo Kalani Bright and Mike Van Weiss. Very sorry if I mispronounced those names there. So this is actually a movie that yeah, I'm sure you've heard about this film by now, but this is actually a film that has kind of an interesting history for me. Like when I was a kid, I liked the original Lilo and Stitch, but as I sort of started growing up, I thought it was too cutesy, and I thought the alien stuff was kind of distracting from the story, and I overall thought it was just like one of those kids' movies that's more for kids than adults. But then when this remake came out and I heard about certain changes it made, I started to get offended. And I was like, why am I getting offended if I didn't like the original? This is confusing. So I went back, rewatched the original, which I haven't done in quite some time. And yeah, I was totally wrong. This is a really good movie. It's funny. Lilo is a really great child character. All of the emotional moments in the film really work well. And really, yeah, the alien stuff is a lot better than I remember it being. Honestly, the only weak link in the film for me is Pleakley, who I never found him funny. I still to this day kind of find him annoying. So that's the one flaw, but otherwise, it's really good. I really like it. And yeah, I just had no interest in seeing any of these Disney live action remakes, but with this one, those changes I was talking about that offended me so much. When I heard about those, I just had to see this film for myself. Not in theaters. There's no chance I would see this in theaters. So I'm not going to give them my money for this, but I said to myself I'll watch it when it comes to streaming and then I will see. So I watched it and this is going to sound kind of weird. It's bad, don't get me wrong. It's bad, but it's also not as bad as I thought it would be. Which okay, so let's talk about first. I'll talk about the things I liked, which it's not much, it's not a lot, but it does add up to why I didn't think it was as bad as it would be. So first of all, let's talk about Stitch himself. I like Stitch in this movie. Like he's the one character who I thought the animation was actually done pretty well. Like he was cute, and there were some funny moments with him throughout the film. There was some new stuff that they had him do, which I thought, it is at least they're adding new stuff, and the stuff they make him do is kind of cute and kind of funny, so that's cool. Chris Sanders, he's still bringing his A game to this role, which he really didn't need to do, but hey, good for him to do that. And like I said, there were some new scenes with him that do work. Not only comedic scenes, but there are some dramatic scenes that are different from the original that I actually kind of liked. Like nothing in this movie hits as hard as the ugly duckling scene from the original, which we'll talk about how they do that here. But I think they're all right. These scenes on their own are fine with him. Hannah Waddingham in this film, in my opinion, perfectly captures like the voice and the mannerisms and everything of Zoe Caldwell from the original Lilo and Stitch. Like honestly, if I didn't go into this knowing that it was Hannah Waddingham in the role, wouldn't have guessed. And if I didn't know Zoe Cadwell had sadly passed away since before this film came out, would have thought it was her. Honestly, would have thought it was her. She did that good of a job. And Amy Hill is the neighbor. I liked her. I liked her character, and I thought Amy Hill brought some fun energy to the film. Like her character's inclusion makes no sense, which we'll get to that later, but as a character on her own, I did like her. And the actress who played Lilo, I feel like this is a good segue into from my positives to my negatives because I will say she had some decent moments, mostly in terms of like the comedy. Like there were some moments in the film where I thought her performance was good. Like for example, early on in the film, she like breaks into this resort and she sits in the hot tub and somebody goes, "Are you supposed to be here?" And she just goes, "I'm in town for the convention." Like she read that line well, and she does some other good line reads with some comedic moments. But honestly, I don't think she does a good job for the most part. Like it mostly just feels like she's trying to be cutesy and quirky. And you can really tell when she's not doing a good job when she's just quoting lines from the original because she just does not hold a candle to Teve Chase. I'm sorry. And again, don't blame her. I do not blame her. I blame the people who cast her for looking at whatever her audition was and saying, yes, this is good. And just overall, honestly, Lilo feels like a massive downgrade from the original. Like I just remember the things that Lilo did in the original, like when she beat up her bully, or she like was talking about her doll and how the doll is oddly shaped because bugs laid eggs in her ear, or when she used voodoo to punish her friends. And yeah, Lilo in this film, she does none of that. She doesn't do anything even close to that. Even like the scene with the bully, she literally just trips her after the bully does something very similar, which is just that's not really comparable because Lilo does something way like more than what the bully did to her. Not saying it wasn't called for, but I am saying just it's not the same. And that just like yeah, there's no bite to this film at all. Like just so many scenes in this film feel like they're watered down compared to the original. Like you remember in the original when Nani is like miming to Lilo what she's supposed to say to the social worker? That happens here too, but instead of that whole misunderstanding where Lilo thinks she's supposed to say Nani disciplines her, she just says, "Oh yeah, I eat a lot, 5 times a day." It's like, wow, that was not even close to being as funny. Um, I will so the actress who plays Nani, Sydney Agudong, again, she has her moments. Like I actually think she does the quieter emotional moments, like the scene on the hammock, pretty well. Like, and she does other like quieter scenes like that pretty good. But any like more aggressive scenes, she does pretty badly. Like there's this scene that kind of went viral online where she's described as yelling in lowercase. Yep, that's about right. I just watched that scene in this movie and was like, yep, that meme had it perfect. The aliens, like Zach Galifianakis was so bad. Like the voice, it did not fit the character at all. Like honestly, it's weird because I think Zach could have been a decent enough Pleakley. Like I actually think he could have done that pretty well, but yeah, as Jumba, no, it's not even close. And he doesn't even try to do the Russian accent. It's like you're not even trying to make this like the original Jumba, like at all. And Billy Magnuson as Pleakley, he was just like kind of bland. I'll admit he's not annoying like Kevin McDonald is in the original. Which again, I'm sorry, I know Pleakley has his fans, but I just found him pretty annoying. But like, yeah, Billy Magnuson is at least not annoying in this. I will say when they both like change into their human forms, which like again kind of lame, but considering how bad the animation is on them, which yeah, animation's bad on them. Who would have thought the animation in a live action remake of an animated film is bad? Like I guess I get it, but like yeah, but like when they're both in the human form, I actually think they're all right. Believe it or not, like they both kind of have a few funny moments when they're human, as opposed to when they're aliens when they're just like not funny and and Zach Galifianakis is like legit awful. He actually has a little bit of energy when he's human, not gonna lie, which is kind of weird. Capo Dudoit as David, didn't like him. I thought he was annoying. Like the way he just like stutters and says the wrong thing, like read the and character legit will say read the room, David. It's like it's just the original character wasn't even that great, but like good gosh, he wasn't like this. He actually was helpful and not just annoying. Going, hey Nani, date me. And he just feels like a kind of a generic rom-com boyfriend. It's like, who wants this? Courtney B. Vance is Cobra Bubbles. Like, in terms of performance, he was all right. Not on the same level as Ving Rhames, but he at least did his job fine enough. Like, Cobra Bubbles in this movie, though, you could have cut him and not missed a thing, which is crazy. And I'll get to that later. And since talking about social workers, Tia Carrere is in this movie as a social worker, and like she's fine. Like she actually delivers her lines all right. It's not anything special, but hey, she's not phoning it in, which is nice. Obviously, would have preferred if they had just kept Cobra Bubbles like the original, but like I guess it's not like this character is bad at least. All right, acting's out of the way. Let's get to technicals. The pacing in this film is awful. Like nothing sits at all. This film is like one of the most ADHD films I've ever seen. And the opening scene of this movie is the perfect example of that. It is insanely rushed. There is no build up to Stitch's reveal like in the original. They just cut from a shot of the Grand Councilwoman talking about Stitch to just showing Stitch. Like, yeah, there he is, whatever, no big deal. And then they go through the trial like as fast as they can. They try and hit the same beats, and then it cuts to Stitch trapped upside down in that thing like the original. And then after like 5 seconds, you cut to Stitch escaping. And then after 5 more seconds, you cut to Stitch in the police cruiser. And after 5 more seconds, you cut to Stitch engaged in the hyperdrive and escaping. And it's like it just feels so fast. Like so many scenes feel like they have no weight because of how fast paced they are. And I feel like a lot of this is because they know you've seen the original. So they're like, well, we don't have to have any atmosphere or good pacing. They've seen the original. They know what happens. We can just show it. And yeah, that's all you need. And it's so annoying. I did not like it at all. There's a scene where Stitch crashes a wedding, which again, it's different from the original. They're adding something new. And at least that idea sounds like it could be fun, but just everything about this scene is bad. The editing is awful. There are so many quick cuts throughout the scene. There are so many points where it'll just cut from what's happening to cut from like the perspective of someone's phone as they're recording this to like cutting to like 5 different pictures people take of what's happening. It's just you can't tell what's going on. It feels like the whole film has ADHD. And they play Uptown Funk during this scene. It's like, I'm sorry, are we back in 2016? Why are we still playing this same song we've heard in a million movies? And then, okay, you want another example of how bad the editing in this? There's a dramatic scene in the movie. Won't say what it is because of spoilers, but after this dramatic scene, the film cuts to surfers in the ocean. It cuts to some random family having dinner, and then it cuts to Lilo in her room. There was no point to any of that. It felt like they just had some random B-roll and were like, well, we got to put this somewhere. Put it here. Like, just there was no point to that. I don't get it. It's so weird. There's also a ton of bad ADR in the movie, and it's always so obvious when it happens. Most egregious example is in like the opening where Nani's at work, and then some off-screen voice says, "Hey, you're gonna be late," and then it like just cuts to this lady tossing Nani a set of keys, and then she's out of there. Again, shows how bad the pacing is because that whole scene is like 5 seconds, and also just like you could tell that like nothing that lady said was actually on set because they never cut to her mouth moving once. And like this movie, it just thinks kids are stupid. Like for a thing that has such bad pacing, it also feels they need to slow down at things they don't need to. Like you remember the original when Stitch is at the adoption center, like and he sees that adoption poster? They show it once and you get it. You know exactly what's about to happen. But in this film, when Stitch is at the shelter, they cut from like him to the poster like 5 different times because they need you to understand what Stitch is about to do. And as if that's not bad enough, they zoom in on the dog, they zoom in on the girl, and they zoom in on the word adopt because they really need you to get what Stitch is about to do because they think you're stupid and think you won't get it. There are also some stupid modern references in this movie. There's a screaming goat scene because people loved it in Thor Love and Thunder. Let's do it here. There's a reference to TikTok dances. I shouldn't have to say why that's horrible to have in here. And there's a lot more that I want to talk about, and I got to get into spoilers because there's just no way I can talk about my other problems with this film without talking about spoilers. So, yeah, here we go. Spoilers, spoilers. So, do you remember that scene in the original where Nani chases Lilo around the house? And then, like, after that scene, there's that dramatic scene where they talk about some of their issues and then they make up at the end. That's in here too, but it's more played for laughs. Like Nani chases Lilo around the house in this really cartoony, over the top way, and then when they're like talking after all that, it's like they're mostly just telling stupid jokes, and then it ends with like Nani tickling Lilo, and it's really annoying. And there's no dramatic impact to anything they say here. Like, do you remember that line from the original where Lilo says, I like you more as a sister than as a mother? Like, in the original, it felt like a really dramatic thing to say, but like, you also got why she said it. Here, she just says it like it's a joke. Like, I like you more as a sister than a mother. And it's like, well, that has no meaning anymore because it's just like you just said it to like be funny, which is stupid. And you know how we saw how Nani overheard Lilo wishing for a friend and then she took her to the adoption center to get a dog? That's not in this. She still overhears her making the wish, but apparently she doesn't take her to get the dog. No, what happens is Lilo goes to the shelter because she just likes to go and visit the dogs there. And then she just comes home with Stitch because that neighbor character I mentioned earlier just said, oh yeah, you can have a dog. And Nani's not consulted at any point about this. They just bring home the dog, and the neighbor's like, hey, come on, let her keep it. It's just like, I'm sorry, in what universe is that considered okay? And also, it just erases like some of the connection Lilo and Nani had. Why would you do that? It's ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There are multiple points in this movie when Nani's like taking Lilo and Stitch to work and to job interviews, and yeah, they cause problems for her, and yeah, that's in the original. But here it's like you have a neighbor who's willing to watch her, heck, has watched her at numerous points before in the movie. Why not just leave her with the neighbor again? Like, again, you got why they didn't do that in the original because they really wanted to show it's just Nani and Lilo against the world. But like they have this friendly neighbor character who's like willing to watch Lilo at multiple points, and it doesn't really feel like just Nani and Lilo anymore. It feels like, yeah, they have a ton of help, which goes against the whole point, kind of the point of the original. And oh yeah, they have a stupid origin for Stitch's name in this. Like at one point, Stitch tears one of Nani's car seats, and she says, "I'm gonna have to stitch that." And Lilo's just like, "Oh, that's gonna be his name." It's like, do you know that people didn't like in the Han Solo movie when they were like, "Hey, what's your name, Han? Who are you with?" Nobody. So you're Han Solo. You know, people hate that, right? They didn't like that. That's pretty much the same thing. And also, it just makes Lilo feel less creative because in the original she just came up with that. But here it's like, oh, you said it, so I'm gonna use that now. Again, bringing up another stupid Disney movie. It's like in the Cruella movie when she like just hears that a car is called a devil, but it's pronounced Deville, and she's like, I like that. I'm gonna use that. Like it's just these movies are so stupid. It's like crazy. At one point, Nani blames her parents for dying. Like she says, Ohana means family, and family means no one's left behind and forgotten. But that's not real because our parents abandoned us. It's like they died. What are you talking about? Like I guess that would make some semblance of sense if you like showed they were partly responsible for their own deaths. Like maybe it showed like maybe if you said they died like doing some extreme sport or doing something reckless that they didn't need to do and they just did for the thrill of it, then at least you could make some semblance of an argument that like they weren't being as careful as they should have knowing they have two kids. But like we don't know how they died in this, so that's just a stupid thing to say. If we're to assume it's like the original where they just went driving in the middle of a storm and then it started raining and they crashed and died that way, that line would make no sense because how is that their fault? As I was alluding to earlier, Cobra Bubbles is pointless because he is not in most of this movie. Like he joins the movie like around halfway through, and we just get to see less of him as a social worker because he's not a real social worker. He's an FBI agent, but he's like, I'm gonna go undercover as a social worker because I think that blue thing is an alien. And he basically contributes nothing since like we already have a social worker character. It's Tia Carrere, and he doesn't affect the plot until literally the last minute. Like he arrests Pleakley at one point, only to be immediately convinced to let him go. So that was pointless. and he doesn't affect the plot until he's part of the reason he's able to convince the aliens to let them keep Stitch. So what was the point of this character if you're not going to have him be the social worker? It doesn't make any sense. And do you remember how I said no point in this movie, like with Stitch, feels as emotional as the Ugly Duckling scene in the original? They do not even do the Ugly Duckling scene in this film. And as a result, Stitch's emotional journey just feels a lot less impactful. Like the parallels between Stitch reading the story about the ugly duckling with Lilo and then Stitch doing the thing that the duck does in the book, that broke my heart when I rewatched the movie. But like here, he basically leaves the house for no reason because in the original they made it clear that like they told Stitch that they felt like the things going on with Donnie and Lilo were his fault. They don't do that here. David says I thought they had a chance, but then he doesn't say anything else, and so Stitch doesn't think it's his fault. So like again, why is he leaving in this? Heck, he doesn't even talk to Lilo about this. He just up and leaves. Okay, bye. And I guess him locking himself in the dog kennel in this film, like that could have been a decent idea if we again felt we knew why he did it. Like again, that whole scene where David tells him it's his fault and he talks with Lilo, or Lilo tells him that it's okay for him to leave. Again, if that had happened and then he locked himself in the dog kennel, that could have worked. But again, they're assuming you've seen the original, which you have. So they're just like, you don't have to actually show why Stitch is doing these things. They'll fill in the blanks. And yeah, biggest fail of the movie for a lot of people, well, maybe second biggest, they make Jumba the villain for no reason. Well, there is a reason. Gontu isn't in the film, and I guess they need a villain, so yeah, Jumba will do. And like in the original, it's like not his transformation from hero to villain, from like villain to hero, isn't amazing or anything, but it's like shown throughout the film through little details that it's like he's not as bad as he claims he is, or at the very least, he has more of a heart than he's willing to let on. And but like and in this film, it just feels like a slap to the face of that character to make him a villain who wants to like hurt Lilo and like destroy all these things around her house that mean a lot to her and like use Stitch as a battery to make a new experiment. I guess, though, since they didn't have any hint that this Jumbo was a good guy throughout the film, yes, it makes sense for him to just be evil here, but again, it's just way less interesting than the Jumbo from the original. Oh, and this has some of my least favorite cliches. I'll talk about number two later, but let's talk about number one, the third act breakup slash liar reveal trope. So basically, like I said, Stitch goes to the animal shelter, locks himself in a dog kennel. Could have been decent, but whatever, I'll talk about that. So Lilo goes to find him and says she loves him, which is an alright scene, but again, they have to zoom in on the stupid adopt poster because they have to show, oh yeah, that's what's going on. They think you're stupid. And then later on, she finds out that Stitch only used her to protect himself from Jumba, and she feels all betrayed. And again, there's no point to this happening except to move the plot along. Like, I guess there's a little bit of a liar revealed story in the original where Lilo finds out he's an alien, but it is very quickly interrupted by Lilo getting kidnapped, and she forgets about being mad at him real quick. So it's not that egregious in the original. Meanwhile, here it feels like super painful. Cobra and so not only is Cobra Bubbles kind of pointless, he's also kind of an asshole in this because like in the original, they showed how much Cobra Bubbles cared about Lilo. Like he's doing all these things to possibly break him and Nani, her and Nani up, but they show that it's because he just wants to do what's best for Lilo. Here, he's willing to possibly let Lilo die so he can bring Pleakley in and make it known that aliens are real. And he has to be convinced to let Pleakley go because Pleakley's the only one who knows how to find Lilo. And it's like, wow, you are kind of an asshole. This Cobra Bubbles, like, again, kind of a slap in the face to the original. Like and he's also possibly kind of racist because it's hinted at that he doesn't see Hawaiians as genuine US citizens. Weird. Oh, and here we go. And now we get to least favorite cliche number two, the fake out death, because they try and make it look like Stitch dies. Because, yeah, that's what they're going to do in their live action remake of Lilo and Stitch. Kill Stitch! Makes perfect sense. Like, they have this dramatic version of Aloha Oi playing while Stitch is, like, drowning. And they hold, even when they get him out of the water and, like, use car like jumper cables to bring him to like try and bring him back to life. They hold on his like dying body for like 2 minutes, and it's like, wow, this is already kind of annoying in Lilo and Stitch too. But here it's just like, come on, this is ridiculous, so manipulative and forced. And yeah, big shock, Stitch doesn't die. And yeah, now we get to the thing that people were most talking about when this film first came out. Nani leaving to study marine biology. And yep, this is incredibly insulting to the original's message. Like, if this were any other film at all, I might have accepted this. I might have I did accept things like Vanellope leaving Sugar Rush to go join Slaughter Race and Ralph having to accept that. Those things like that are fine. But it's like the original showed the importance of family sticking together and how nobody gets left behind or forgotten. In this one, Nani leaves because it's convenient. She has all these people who can watch Lilo now, so why should she have to? And it's honestly even more insulting because there are multiple points in this film where like they show Nani was this former champion surfer when she was younger, and she even gets like a job as a surfing instructor. Heck, she saves Stitch from drowning by using training she presumably did while trying to be a professional surfer. But nope, even though they have all these hints, Nani's going to stay and teach surfing, or even stay and like become a professional surfer, which yes, you'll be gone sometimes, but you'll still be home a lot more than if you leave to go to college. So her leaving to study marine biology just feels extra pointless. And it just feels like a huge spit in the face of the original. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. There's a lot wrong with this. Like, it's not the worst Disney live action remake. Like, Aladdin and Pinocchio are the worst I've seen because they just have, like, pretty much nothing good about them. I have no positive feelings towards those films at all. And like I said at the beginning, there were a few bright spots in this film. Not a lot, but just enough for me to not say it's the worst. But don't get me wrong, this is still bad, and I'm still giving this film an F. And one last thing I will say, I have no idea what the sequel is going to be like because, like, not only are they in a kind of a totally different place than the original, but also they're claiming that they're not going to follow Stitch Has a Glitch or any of the already existing Lilo and Stitch sequels. So I am a little interested to see what they do. Not enough to like actually watch the film, but I will at least be interested in seeing what they do next. So those are my thoughts on the live action Lilo and Stitch. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to see more reviews like this in the future. And on that note, I will see you next time. Have a great day.